You can never whip these boys if you don't keep you and them separate. I found that out in Birmingham. You've got to keep the white and the black separate.
These terrible words spoken with such hate and ferocity by American politician and segregationist Bull Connor echoed the sentiment of a Jim Crow society that refused to honor basic constitutional rights such as life, liberty, and equal opportunities for all United States citizens. This is the world that Claudette Colvin helped change. Claudette Colvin was born in September of 1939 and grew up in a poor black neighborhood in Montgomery, Alabama. Colvin only knew one way of life, the Jim Crow South. White domination over all minorities lingered in a set of rules honored in the South titled Jim Crow. For example, it is clearly stated that a black male cannot offer his hand to shake hands with a white male because it implied being socially equal. Colvin experienced this rule firsthand. At a young age, she was disciplined by her mother for comparing hands with a young white boy at a department store. She was simply trying to show the boy that they were the same. Colvin's family experienced prejudice and hate. The South remained resilient in their efforts to keep the South segregated. This includes segregation on public transportation. All city buses in Montgomery had clear seating assignments for white and black passengers. The front was reserved for white patrons, while the back for all other riders. The middle was reserved for both. However, if white passengers boarded, seats occupied by black passengers had to be vacated. 9 months before Rosa Parks' historic standoff, Claudette Colvin took her place as a soldier in the cause of civil rights. She heroically took a stand in history. At the age of 15, Colvin refused to relinquish her seat on a Montgomery bus, resulting in her immediate arrest. With this action, Colvin bravely challenged discrimination and prejudice. Her actions energized the civil rights movement and aided in the desegregation of buses. Colvin's life changed forever on March 2, 1955. On her way home from Booker T. Washington High School, Colvin refused to give up her seat to a white patron. She was arrested, harassed, and taken to jail. When asked about the incident, Colvin said, "I paid my fare, and it's my constitutional right. I remember they dragged me off the bus because I refused to walk. They handcuffed me and took me to an adult jail."
My name is Claudette Colvin, and in 1955, I refused to give up my seat to a white passenger on the bus in Montgomery, Alabama, 9 months before Rosa Parks. I was 15 years old. And the rule in the segregation that a white person had to sit in front of you and you sit behind them. And so the bus driver asked me to get up. I was shouting, "It's my constitutional right, so I'm not gonna move." And that's when the policeman dragged me off the bus. That day, when the bus driver asked me to get up, I had this feeling come over me. It felt like Harriet Tubman was holding me down, hands were holding me down on one shoulder, and Sojourner Truth hands were holding me down on another shoulder. And I was glued to the seat, and I could hear the white passengers saying, "She gotta move, she gotta move. That's the law, she gotta move." And I felt like this is my time to take a stand for justice.
According to comments located in the National Women's History Museum, Colvin remembers the police officers calling her racist and sexist names. They took turns trying to guess her bra size and crack jokes about parts of her body. When they got to the jail, the other police officers joined in on the name calling. Colvin was convicted of disturbing the peace, violating the segregation law, and assault. Colvin's actions were not immediately fruitful. The NAACP decided not to push Colvin's case on the merit of her age, social status, and pregnancy, the result of a relationship with a married man 10 years her senior. They chose Rosa Parks 9 months later as the face of the cause. In a published article about the boycott, organizer E.D. Nixon and local attorney Fred Gray noted they were apprehensive about asking conservative-minded African-American churches to fight on behalf of Colvin, who was also prone to outbursts and cursing. However, Colvin's efforts did not go to waste. After Parks followed Colvin's example and refused to give up her seat, the black citizens of Montgomery started a boycott of the bus system that would last 381 days.
For several weeks now, we, the Negro citizens of Montgomery, have been involved in a non-violent protest against the injustices which we have experienced on the buses for a number of years. We feel that we are right. We have a legitimate gripe, a legitimate protest. And we feel also that one of the great glories of American democracy is that we have the right to protest for rights. We will do it in an orderly fashion. This is a non-violent protest. We are depending on moral and spiritual forces, using the method of passive resistance.
University of Rice professor Douglas Brinkley writes, Colvin proved a good dress rehearsal for the real drama shortly to come. Despite the fear of Colvin's personal life, she became one of the 4 plaintiffs in Browder v. Gale along with Ariella S. Browder, Susan McDonald, and Mary Louise Smith. The case, which was heard by a 3-judge panel in the United States District Court, declared the segregated bus system unconstitutional. On June 19, 1956, the court ruled that segregated buses deny equal protection of the law guaranteed by the 14th Amendment. The case was appealed all the way to the top. In December 1956, the U.S. Supreme Court affirmed the decision forever removing segregation from public transportation. Claudette Colvin's name will forever be printed on that historic ruling. A fictional series owned by HBO titled The Newsroom, starring Jeff Daniels, developed an interesting theory on Colvin's case.
A young black woman is arrested for refusing to give up her seat on a bus to a white man in Alabama. Civil rights leaders in the ACLU rush to her side, and she will be a symbol of the struggle against segregation. Her name is Claudette Colvin, and she's 15 years old. She's also unmarried and pregnant. The civil rights leaders in the ACLU decide that Colvin is not the best foot forward and stand down. 8 months later, Rosa Parks happens. But during that 8 months, a brilliant and charismatic young minister gets the attention of the community and is chosen to lead the bus boycotts. If Claudette Colvin doesn't get pregnant, if they'd gone in the spring instead of 8 months later, Martin Luther King is a preacher you've never heard of in Montgomery.
However interesting these theories are, Colvin's actions could not be diminished. Claudette Colvin acted with bravery and determination. As a 15-year-old, she stood in the face of discrimination and held her ground. She accomplished more as a teenager than most adults will do in a lifetime. She took a stand in history.
I just felt that this was not right. I just wanted people to come together and unify and fight this segregation.